This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for Monday, December 30th, 2024. I'm Marek Mazurek. A revenue report from mid-December determined that incoming monies would be sluggish over the next 2 years for the state, with barely any new dollars expected to hit Indiana's coffers. Much of that funding will be swallowed up by Medicaid costs, which are growing at a faster rate than the state's revenues. The Medicaid shortfall will be at the center of the upcoming legislative session, with lawmakers devising ways to raise revenue. The Indiana Capitol Chronicle reports there are some discussions about legalizing marijuana as a way to pay for the shortfall. However, Republican State House leadership appears unenthusiastic. The legislature could also consider moving casino gaming license as a way to generate that revenue. At least one bill in the upcoming session will be familiar to the legislature, a bill seeking to restrict the use of prior authorization. Emergency room physician Senator Tyler Johnson said he regularly saw patients in the emergency department whose health worsened while waiting for prior authorization approvals or who had previously been denied care. According to the American Medical Association, 94% of physicians reported care delays due to prior authorization, including 24% who reported that such delays had led to a serious adverse event. Other familiar topics include the potential to regulate pharmacy benefit managers, non-compete agreements for healthcare providers, scrutinizing medical debt, and increasing tobacco taxes. The House has passed such an increase a handful of times, but the Senate has declined to act. Senator Ed Charbonneau said circumstances could be different in 2025 with such a tight budget. Indianapolis-based Glick Philanthropies announced earlier this month more than $1.86 million in grants to 40 nonprofit organizations, particularly groups that help immigrants. Glick said in a release that the fall of 2024 grant recipients included groups that support the arts, social services, economic mobility, education, civic engagement, and the Jewish community. A particular emphasis in this round of grants was to support nonprofit groups that help immigrants through their programming, such as an arts initiative or leadership program geared toward minorities, or through their mission, such as grassroots projects, Immigrant Welcome Center, or Patchwork Indy. For a full list of grant recipients, head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
To succeed, you need to stay informed. You need to be engaged. And let's face it, you need to set yourself apart from the rest by connecting with a company that brings you the best. Because in today's environment, business is an ever-moving target, and we'll help you chase it. IBJ Media. The best of business is in us. Get started at ibjmedia.com/youngprofessional.
The Indiana Supreme Court will hear oral arguments in January in a case where a woman sued the South Bend Community School Corporation alleging wrongful termination of her employment with the district. The High Court accepted the school district's petition to transfer and will be hearing arguments on January 23rd. According to court records, Connie Grabowski claimed that the South Bend School District effectively fired her in retaliation for her intending to file a workers' compensation claim. Grabowski was supervising a group of students lining up to use the restroom one day in 2016 when one of those students accidentally knocked her over. Technically speaking, a jury in the state appeals court found that the South Bend School District did retaliate against Grabowski for the workman's comp claim. But Grabowski's real theory of the case is that the district retaliated against her for naming the student who ran into her. The student was a grandson of a school board member at the time whose family had pre-existing tensions with Grabowski. Grabowski was a teacher in the district for 22 years. A St. Joseph County jury awarded her $600,000 in damages. In its appeal, the South Bend District brought two issues before the court. It questioned whether the trial court erred when it denied the school corporation's motions for judgment on the evidence, claiming Grabowski did not present enough evidence to support the elements of her claim. The school corporation also raised the issue of whether the trial court abused its discretion when it denied the school corporation's motion for a mistrial because of the length of the proceedings on the last day of the trial. The appeals court sided with Grabowski on both issues, but now the state Supreme Court will weigh in. Two Indiana communities are raising money with the hopes of hitting their goal and receiving a matching grant from the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority through the Creating Places program. The Creating Places program was established in 2016 and provides up to $50,000 in matching funds for projects that hit their crowdfunding goals on Patronicity. The town of Holland is hoping to raise $40,000 by February 7th to replace and install new lighting posts along the road and walking spaces in Holland Park. The town says many of its current lights are broken. In Indianapolis, the Aspire Higher Foundation wants to create the Bloom and Brew Community Marketplace next to its art therapy studio. The space would be a corner store and cafe with locally grown food and wellness support. Check out the latest episode of the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Marek Mazurek for Inside Indiana Business Radio On Demand.